In the stillest moment of the night, a simple message appeared. Don't look back. When I ignored that line, another came. It's already too late. In that single minute, my world changed. The hook hit straight to the heart, sharp and gripping, a small instruction that turned deadly.
It was around 2 in the morning. I was sitting in front of my laptop, the room lit only by the pale glow of the screen, rain tapping against the window, and the distant whimper of a car horn echoing somewhere outside. I have a habit of scrolling through abandoned forums and old chat rooms late at night, places where people write about their strange experiences, and I, out of pure curiosity, dig through them. In that silence, a notification appeared. Private message from Last Alive User. The name alone sent a jolt through me because I had never seen this user before. Instinctively, I turned on the laptop's mic to record, but something in my chest whispered that something was listening to me instead. When I opened the chat, the first message was soft. Are you awake? I hesitated and didn't reply. Something inside nudged me to turn around, and I did. The room was empty, but in that exact moment, someone tapped the door. A very faint tuk-tuk, like a fingernail gently scratching the wood. I turned back to the screen, and a new message had already arrived. You just looked behind you, didn't you? The words hit me like ice. Then the chat began describing my pauses, the way I breathe after each hesitation, even the tiny shaky exhale I hadn't noticed myself. Then came the moment everything shifted. The chat suddenly sent a long paragraph. It enters from here, through conversations. First it listens, then it learns to mimic. At that exact moment, my webcam turned on by itself and a small preview box appeared, showing my face, but behind me, in the dim reflection, stood a shadow. A faint figure, unclear in the scattered light from outside, but unmistakably there in the camera's angle. I spun around. The room was empty. When I looked back at the screen, the figure had subtly changed shape, as if it already understood how I moved. A new message appeared from my own profile, a message I did not write. Stay quiet, it notices movement. My throat dried instantly, and my hands trembled. Suddenly, everything unraveled. The lights began flickering, pixels scattered across the screen, and the webcam feed burst into a flash of white before dropping into a deep, suffocating black. The shadow that had been blurry before was now standing clearly right behind my chair. Tall, faceless, its neck bent at an impossible angle. I wasn't laughing, I was holding my breath. But my own profile typed, "Don't move." Something began crawling slowly beneath my chair, a cold, dragging motion, like a boneless creature slithering toward my feet. I slammed the laptop shut in panic, but it powered back on by itself, reopening the same chat. Then a voice, warped, broken, whispered from the webcam's direction. End it. I turned, and the shadow was closer than ever, close enough that I could feel its presence brushing against my skin. My voice died inside my chest. My nails dug into the chair. Then something sharp jabbed the lower part of my back, and I fell backward, but my feet never hit the ground. It felt like something was pulling me down, dragging me from below. Then, suddenly, silence. Complete and total. No breathing, no rustling, nothing. Just one long, thin pulse echoing inside my ears. For a moment, it felt like the entire world had gone silentless. When I regained consciousness, soft morning light seeped through the curtains, sweat cooling on my neck, and the laptop lay open in front of me. The chat window was still there, showing 2 unread messages. The first was supposedly from me, though I never typed it. Did you tell anyone? And the second was from unknown user. If it speaks in your voice,
Understand that you are not alone. My hand shook. I typed, "Not yet," but before I could hit send, a new message appeared, again from my profile, in my tone, but not from my mind. We both made a mistake. The laptop shut its screen on its own. Even now, whenever my profile asks someone at 2:14 a.m., "Are you awake?" I know I didn't send it. And if you ever see a stranger type in your rhythm, your pauses, your breathing, your style, close the chat immediately, because someone once said, when the internet starts sounding exactly like you, teasing it only makes the danger grow. I never imagined that a simple government project would leave scars on my soul, scars so deep that perhaps even death won't be able to heal them. People think that only the biggest names shape history, but the truth is far darker. Behind every horrific chapter, there are forgotten people, people like us, whose stories never make it out. If this account ever ends up in some classified file, some abandoned archive, or carved onto my gravestone, let the world know that I understood everything, and that I understood it far too late. Our team was ordered to develop a technology that could erase sound. Officially, it was meant for soldiers, so they could hear clearly amidst explosions, chaos, and battlefield noise. But the real purpose, which we learned much later, was something entirely different. The device was named the tunnel, a frequency designed not to block outer sound, but to silence the voice inside the human mind. The first test subject was my colleague Irfan, a cheerful man, always laughing. But the moment he put on the tunnel's headset, something inside him collapsed. We wrote questions on a clipboard, but he only stared blankly, as if he no longer understood what words were, as if his mind had gone deaf to itself. The next morning, he walked into the lab muttering only one sentence: "There's too much noise, even though the room was completely silent. That night, I finally realized the problem wasn't the silence, it was what he heard inside that silence. When I entered the lab, the air felt unnaturally cold. The prototype sat on the table, and Irfan was crouched in a corner, pressing his hands against his ears, trembling. I approached and asked, "What do you hear?" His voice quivered as he whispered, "Something moving inside, like someone crawling through a tunnel, whispering my name." A few days later, Irfan vanished. His desk was untouched, his lab coat still hanging, but he was nowhere to be found. We assumed he'd run away in a state of madness, but the next morning, when we opened the security system, the last camera clip played automatically. The moment still sends shivers through my spine. Irfan sat alone. Suddenly, he leaned violently toward the wall, and a hand from inside the concrete grabbed him and dragged him through a solid, reinforced wall. Even then, the project wasn't shut down. Higher officials insisted we upgrade the tunnel. We pushed the frequency higher, from 50 megahertz to 200 megahertz, and that's when we understood. We weren't creating silence, we were awakening something. Strange marks appeared around the lab, deep scratches across the floor. The walls began to pulse faintly, as if something massive inside them was breathing. My boss, Dr. Kamran, kept saying, "It's all psychological. Science disproves paranoia." But one night, he volunteered to test the latest prototype. The instructions were simple: observe and document. First minute, silence. Second minute, the temperature dropped. Third minute, blood trickled from his nose. Fourth minute, he opened his eyes and whispered, "It's talking to me." Fifth minute, he shoved his fingers into his ear and began digging, clawing, tearing, blood dripping, but he continued whispering, "It's coming inside, inside." We tried to pull the headset off, but it was stuck, as if fused to him. Then suddenly, a sound filled the room, a sound that wasn't sound, low, hollow, echoing, like the breathing of a giant tunnel. And it spoke a single word: open. The walls rippled, cracks crawled across the floor. Dr. Kamran's screams echoed through my skull, and then the left wall burst outward. Cold dirt spilled out, stones rolled across the floor, and crawling out came hands, long, thin, corpse-like fingers, not human, not from this world. They reached for Dr. Kamran and pulled him into the wall. Then everything went silent, completely, utterly silent. The project was shut down that same night. The entire facility was sealed. But the silence didn't leave us. The tunnel wasn't a device, it was a door, and we had opened it. A few days later, I began hearing the same echo Irfan spoke of, a hollow, distant voice whispering in my mind, "Open." Only occasionally, but each day louder than before, as if it was searching for a way out. I left my home, escaped the city, shut off my phone, my internet, everything. But at night, when the world becomes completely still, I hear footsteps behind the walls. Slow, crawling footsteps, searching. I don't know if this story will ever reach anyone. Maybe one night I'll be pulled through a wall too. But if you're reading this, remember, silence is never just silence. It listens. And when you listen to it long enough, it begins to speak back.
My brother disappeared on a rainy Thursday night, but his phone didn't. It kept calling me. Not ringing, calling. Late at night from a number that was supposed to be powered off, sealed in evidence. Every call came from the same contact he used for me, Little Sis. The smile made it worse. The first time I blamed the carrier. The second time I cursed myself for not blocking the number sooner. The third time, the phone didn't ring at all. It whispered. My name is Elaine Mercer, and I'm a nighttime IT analyst. I spend 3 a.m. shifts in server rooms while machines hum like sleeping beasts. My brother used to call my job ghost work. Now I would give anything to hear him tease me again. The night the calls began for real, I had just run a routine diagnostic. The building was dead quiet except for the steady cooling fans. I liked the quiet until the quiet started talking. At 3:27 a.m., my phone vibrated across the metal desk. Nathan calling. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The call went to voicemail. 2 seconds later, a notification. New voicemail. Received tomorrow, 3:29 a.m. That wasn't possible. Timestamps don't come from the future. I listened anyway. Thick static first, like wind through rotten wires. Then Nathan's voice, faint and stretched. "Elaine, don't stay alone tonight." Static swallowed the rest. I drove home shaking, lights off, shoes on. I sat on the couch and stared at my phone until sunrise. By morning, the voicemail had vanished. No record, no timestamp, like it had never existed. Over the next week, the messages grew stranger. Sometimes footsteps, sometimes coughing, sometimes Nathan saying my name the way he used to when he was searching for me in the dark. One night, the message was only breathing, hard, panicked, followed by a rasped whisper. "Don't open the door tonight." I checked the peephole. Nobody. I locked every deadbolt anyway. On the 10th night, I got a text, 3:33 a.m. The static line is open. Stay off the phone. The moment I read it, every electronic in my apartment flickered. The lamp, the TV, the microwave clock, even my laptop's sleeping LED. Like something invisible had passed through the circuits. Then the landline rang. I don't have a landline. I followed the sound into the kitchen and found an old beige rotary phone plugged into a forgotten jack behind the fridge, as if it had been there forever. It rang again. A voicemail buzzed on my cell phone. New voicemail, received tomorrow. My legs trembled when I pressed play. Nathan sounded close, whispering like he stood right behind me. "You don't have long. It's using the quiet. Don't stay in silence. Don't let it finish listening." Static roared, and burned into the recording came a final line. "It gets through sound first, then through reflection." I smashed the rotary phone with a hammer until ceramic and plastic scattered across the tiles. The moment the last piece stopped skittering, my cell phone vibrated. A photo message from Nathan's number. My apartment, taken from inside the kitchen from an angle behind me. I was alone. I thought I was alone. I grabbed my coat and ran. I didn't care where. I needed noise, movement, anything but the quiet. I ended up in a 24-hour pharmacy. Fluorescent lights buzzed. A radio played cheap pop. People shuffled by, alive and oblivious. For the first time in days, I felt safe. Then every TV above the aisles went to black, then gray, then crawling static. In the center of each screen, a shape resolved, almost human, watching. The speakers crackled, and Nathan's voice whispered through the hiss, "Run." Back on the street, car alarms screamed and windows reflected static instead of the city. The static line had crossed over, and it was looking for me. I finally returned to my building because the street behind me filled with voices that weren't human. On my door was a note in shaky ink. "If you can hear him, he can hear you. If you can see it, it can see you. Break the line." No name, no signature, just instructions. Inside, the rotary phone pieces were gone, and the lights refused to turn on. My phone buzzed. Voicemail. From tomorrow. I pressed play, hands numb. Nathan spoke softly, like he stood in front of me. "Little sis, I found the line, and I broke it. You won't hear from me again, but that means it will come for you once more, just once. Until then, don't answer anything that speaks in static." I waited. Minutes felt like hours. For the first time in days, nothing happened. No calls, no static. Real silence, whole and heavy, like a closed door. I cried until my throat burned. For a week, the silence held. I slept without headphones. I ate without the TV. I tried to forget the sound of his voice stretched across time. Then, one morning, while making coffee, my toaster flashed a message across its tiny clock. "New broadcast open." My skin went cold. Every reflective surface in the kitchen, the kettle, the chrome toaster, the dark window, wavered with snow. And then an image, my brother sitting at my kitchen table, smiling at a radio, a smile too wide for a dead man. The toaster beeped, and the reflection stuttered back to normal. I unplugged everything. The apartment went dark and quiet. I taped the phone jack with duct tape and left the hammer on the counter. I thought I'd won, or at least paused whatever had reached for me. For 3 days, I had ordinary mornings, ordinary commutes, ordinary texts from friends. Then my neighbor knocked and asked, casual, if I'd heard anything weird last night. Static by the back alley, like a choir tuning its teeth. He laughed it off, like many of us do when the world tips sideways. The calls began again the next week, less often, then more. Each voicemail was different, a recipe read backwards, a weather report for a place that didn't exist, my voice humming a lullaby I'd never heard. Some days the messages were warnings, some days they were invitations. One message simply said, "We're close now," and the line went dead. That night, my bathroom mirror fogged on its own, and in the condensation, a message scrawled itself from the inside, "Turn it off." I smashed the mirror. My hand cut and bled, but the writing remained, shimmering on the shards, "Turn it off." I don't know what the static line is, a glitch in the world's wiring, a feed from something beyond reflection, a hungry chorus using found voices. I only know how it feels to be listened to until there is no place left where sound is private. I only know the dread that wakes you at 3:27 a.m. when your phone vibrates and the screen says a name you loved. Sometimes I think Nathan found the line and thought to fight it. Sometimes I think he was swallowed because he heard too much. Sometimes I think I could break it if I stopped listening entirely. No screens, no radios, no reflections. But absolute silence is a fragile thing, and the world insists on making noise. Now, when my cell phone lights up in the dark with a number I recognize, I do one thing before I answer. I put the phone face down and listen. If there is static in the background that sounds like a choir tuning, I don't pick up. If there is a breath that isn't his, I don't pick up. If the voice sounds too close, too warm, I don't pick up. When I can, I step outside and force myself into a crowd until my ears fill with human noise. It's not a solution, it's a delay. On good nights, the line is quiet. On bad nights, it hums under the floorboards and on the wires and in the refrigerator light. Sometimes I hear my name in the hiss of a subway vent or in a song cut wrong on the radio. I write these things down because words feel like witnesses, and witnesses matter. If the static finds a way in through your devices, remember what my brother told me in a message from tomorrow. Break the line, make noise that is alive, reflect nothing back. And if your phone ever shows a contact you thought was gone, don't be tempted by the smiley face. Let it ring out. Let tomorrow's voicemail stay unheard. Because when the world starts speaking in echoes, the easiest way to survive is to keep making new sounds, real ones, until whatever listens gets bored and looks for quieter prey.